Welcome to Outdoors with Roy. The City of McAllen has a green oasis in the heart of the city. Quinta Mazatlan is McAllen's World Birding Center and much more. Coming up on this episode of Outdoors with Roy, there's no place like Quinta Mazatlan. It's a historic Spanish revival adobe hacienda with 15 acres of lush tropical landscape and native woodland with hundreds of different colorful species of birds, making it a beautiful place for bird watching. Also, the tropical gardens at Quinta Mazatlan are going wild with wildflowers. Learn from one of Quinta Mazatlan's experts who plants native wildflowers to beautify the landscape and provide a home for creatures. Stay tuned. Up next, Quinta Mazatlan is looking for weed warriors to help maintain its Tamaulipan forest and also help with the upkeep at the new tiny forest around town. We will have that story next. Quinta Mazatlan is McAllen's World Birding Center. More than 250 bird species flock to this Tamaulipan forest to seek refuge. Here's the story of what attracts bird watchers to this amazing locale. There's a cacophony of nature sounds at Quinta Mazatlan, from chachalacas to cicadas, as the City of McAllen's World Birding Center is ground zero for many bird watchers from around the world. According to urban ecologist John Brush, when bird watching at Quinta Mazatlan, make sure to look and listen.
People can enjoy so many different things here at Quinta Mazatlan. Some of our most popular birds are things like great kiskadee and green jay and chachalacas, and these are things that probably about half the time you come out here you're going to get to see.
During feeding time at Quinta Mazatlan, there's birds of all sorts that make their way for an easy meal, including the official City of McAllen bird, the green jay.
Green jays are one of these birds that likes to be in places that have more trees. So you can see them in neighborhoods here in the Rio Grande Valley if you have a certain amount of tree cover. But they're a generalist species, and what that means is they can occupy some different types of habitats, and they eat a variety of things.
Quinta Mazatlan has visitors from around the world like Canada, Japan, Mexico, and the United Kingdom who want a glimpse of hundreds of bird species in a single location. Marianne Marbers from Houston, Texas was visiting Quinta Mazatlan for the first time with her family.
I think it's wonderful. It's beautiful. It's scenic. We've seen birds and heard a lot of things that we didn't see, but we're enjoying it.
Brush says in North America there's more than 1,100 bird species. In the Rio Grande Valley there's more than 520 bird species. At Quinta Mazatlan, with about 280 bird species unique to this region.
They're not really found anywhere else in the United States. So there's a kind of a certain subset of birds that we call South Texas specialties. And the chachalaca is probably the best example of that, because they're really only found from like Laredo, Texas, down to Brownsville, Texas, right along the river, essentially. So if you want to see chachalaca in the United States, you have to come to the Rio Grande Valley to see them.
Birders from around the world venture out to Quinta Mazatlan to see the chachalacas because of their reputation of being big, brown, and loud.
They're very charismatic. They're kind of, I think probably the best way to familiarize people to chachalacas is they're kind of like chickens. They're like a mix between a chicken and a roadrunner. So they're on the ground a lot of the times, they run around, they chase each other, they're squawking, and then they'll get up into the tall trees and just emit this very loud chorus. The males and females sing together, and they go chachalac, chachalaca, chachalac, chachalaca, and that's why they have that name.
Quinta Mazatlan is a bird's paradise because of the trees, plants, and wildlife. Hundreds of different bird species flock to this location surrounded by big city life because it serves as a lush resting place. The City of McAllen continues to invest in this paradise right in the heart of the city. Currently, the City of McAllen is building the Center for Urban Ecology with the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley to offer its students a living science lab. Besides hundreds of different bird species, Quinta Mazatlan has thousands of native plants and flowers that attract more than just birds, but also wildflowers that attract wildlife. The grounds at Quinta Mazatlan are always going through change because of different seasons or new construction. The latest Quinta Mazatlan attraction are wildflowers that have attracted critters and people alike.
Wildflowers are a really important resource for pollinators like butterflies, native bees, and other insects that eat those insects, right? So really at the core of it, if you have plants, flowering plants, you are creating what we call a palette, essentially, for the artists, which is wildlife, to come in and use.
Brush says Quinta Mazatlan has its seasons for wildflowers, from March to April and September through November for visitors to see nature paint the landscape with colorful wildflowers.
Where it's hot and where it's dry, a lot of our native plants are much better at surviving heat and drought than things we might bring in from elsewhere around the world. So they use less water, and that's a really important thing, is water conservation in our cities.
Brush says going with native plants in your garden will help you save money and time.
We have hairy Wedelia, which is a type of sunflower. We've got several different types of mist flowers. We have a goldenrod that's really great at supporting butterflies. We have over 1,200 plants that are considered native to the valley, so there's a lot of stuff to choose from.
Wildflowers grow with minimum effort. Just spread the seeds where you want them to grow and water them with tender, loving care until the wildflowers can survive on their own. It's a way nature paints a landscape. While the wildflowers are seasonal, visitors can still see native plants across the entire property. Going native in the outdoors in your own backyard will allow your personal oasis to bloom like Quinta Mazatlan's. There's also plenty to do at Quinta Mazatlan throughout the year to get you to the outdoors. Quinta Mazatlan is offering summer classes for children. Here's Quinta Mazatlan's Taylor Zavala, who's an environmental education specialist.
This summer, we are thrilled to welcome back children from the ages of 5 to 13-year-old back to our nature discovery camps here at Quinta Mazatlan. Each week-long camp is spent out exploring our Tamaulipan thorn forest, our butterfly gardens, aquatic life in the pond, and they get to explore through different lenses, from art, photography, biomimicry, but most importantly, the art of noticing. So enrollment is now open, and we look forward to greeting new explorers and spend some time in the natural world.
To register for summer camps, go to quintamazatlan.ticketleap.com. What started off as an idea to put a living science lab at a McAllen Independent School District campus has sparked a movement to put a tiny forest at every McAllen ISD school campus. Here's the latest for the first of its kind tiny forest at Cathy Middle School. After only 1 year, this green oasis nestled at Cathy Middle School is growing into a tiny forest. The Friends of Quinta Mazatlan invested $25,000 in educational curriculum around growing tiny forests because of the many benefits of native trees and plants.
Just a year ago, we put in over 2,500 plants, representing 30 different species, which make up a heritage Tamaulipan thorn forest. And the students were putting in 5-inch plants, and you can see behind me a lot of the species, the tepehuajes and the ebonies and the mist flowers are all taller than me now. So you plant it and they'll grow and the wildlife comes.
This tiny forest at Cathy Middle School is the model for other 30 McAllen ISD campuses. The second tiny forest was just planted at Sam Houston Elementary School thanks to the Friends of Quinta Mazatlan. The City of McAllen, Friends of Quinta Mazatlan, and McAllen ISD officials are celebrating the first anniversary of the tiny forest at Cathy Middle School and the planting of the second tiny forest at Sam Houston Elementary. Hopefully every student becomes a good steward of the environment in their neighborhoods and backyards.
The name is Tiny Forest, but it has mighty benefits. In the summertime, you can walk through a forest and it'll be 20 degrees cooler than in the street. Clearly this is an outdoor living landscape. It's like a science lab for the students here at Cathy.
Hook says they are always looking for investors who want to contribute to the Tiny Forest program, but Quinta Mazatlan also needs volunteers throughout the year.
This summer at Quinta Mazatlan, every Thursday morning we have volunteer mornings. So I know a lot of leadership youth groups are looking for volunteer hours, adult groups, we welcome you to Quinta Mazatlan. And then the last Saturday of every month, we travel to a tiny forest to help maintain the tiny forest.
Individuals can just show up at Quinta Mazatlan every Thursday morning to volunteer. If you'd like to bring a group of volunteers, contact Quinta Mazatlan at 681-3370. That wraps up another edition of Outdoors with Roy. This summer, head on out to Quinta Mazatlan to see nature's beauty on display. Quinta Mazatlan is one of the most beautiful places in McAllen. I'm Roy Cantu for the City of McAllen.